Yes. So I'm not one of those guys that wants to make you hang on until the end to see the answer. So you have it, but if you want the explanation, here it is. There's a lot of content out there saying how to get into tech and that a lot of things out there are wrong, like you don't need to go to college, you can be self-taught, you can do this coding boot camp. And I'm not saying any of these things are 100% wrong, but today I'm gonna do kind of a rare YouTube video where I'm just gonna kind of tell you the truth, even though it's not what you might wanna hear. And let's start with the first thing that you probably don't wanna hear. Your parents were right. See, that wasn't a fun thing to hear. Now, a lot of what you're gonna consume online when it comes to how should you get into X thing, but especially how should you get into tech, is gonna be based around two things. One is telling you what you want to hear. Like, everything is wrong, the college system it's antiquated, it's messed up, it's not fair, and also that it's a lot easier than you think to do this thing. And we all want to hear that, right? We all want to think that what we want to achieve is going to be easy, and we all want to hear that the people that we've been hearing things from, that maybe our parents, we like to think that they're wrong. Well, in this case, if your parents were telling you go to college, get a degree, they weren't 100% wrong. But let me get into why they weren't 100% wrong, because they may not have really even understood why. The university system offers something you can't really get anywhere else, and it's kind of two-sided. And one thing it's doing is actually teaching you the thing. Now, the first blowback I'm gonna get is people will say the university doesn't teach you anything, the professor just sits up there and talks and then gives you a test, and how are you supposed to pass it? Well, the thing about learning is that you have to want to learn. And you'll hear a lot of people say that they're self-taught, as to say that that's kind of inverse to going to a university. And that's really not at all the case. I consider myself to be self-taught in much of what I've done, but I do have a degree. Now, what the university does is, one, they charge you money, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. The next thing they do is they attempt to present you with things that you need to know. And to some degree, yes, they do teach you. Then they make it to where you have to learn it, or else you will not be passed and you will have wasted your money. They give you a necessity so that you have to move forward and have to work to get that result. And the last thing they basically do is they certify you. So as an accredited university with standards, whoever this may be, they say this person did learn these things and they are competent. Now, the two sides really are, one, the teaching, whether or not they're just teaching and you just absorb it, versus you actually have to do some work. And then the other side is they are certifying you. Now, that is really important, because if you just go to some coding boot camp that no one's ever heard of, or maybe a few people have heard of, how is anyone going to know that what you did at that coding boot camp means that you can do anything? You may have had to pass a test, but that doesn't mean that it was held to any standard. And it's easy for someone to look at that and say, okay, how do I know that not everyone that goes through this coding boot camp, gets out on the other side with 100% that certification? There really is no good way to know. At an accredited university, there are standards. So it's not even so much that you're paying to learn, it's that you're paying to be tested at high standards. Now, I understand that the cost is high. And that is true. The cost of university is very high. But there's a few misnomers here. One is that it's a bit inflated by some of the more expensive universities. Like, if somebody told you cars are expensive, they cost on average $50,000, they would have been kind of leaving out that you can easily get one for around, the 20 grand range, and maybe that's a little bit more expensive today. But you can do the more affordable option, and because universities are accredited, that will still mean just about as much. I mean, I went to the University of Central Florida, one of the most affordable universities in the country. Not only did I do that, but I went to community college for the first 2 years. This saved me a lot of money when it came to college, to the point where I had so little debt, I was able to pay it off within my first year or so of working. Had I had double the amount of debt I had, I could have paid it off by now. And then it would be gone. The other thing that you have to do is do a little bit of math. What are you making where you're working now? For me, I was working at McDonald's. I was making minimum wage. So my income could have been considered probably not much more than 20 grand, or actually probably a little bit less. Now, if I take that and then I take my starting salary at the job I'm getting offered out of university, then I subtract them and I say, how much is my monthly payment? Even if I'm never gonna pay these student loans off, how much is that salary? Then simply subtract, 12 times the monthly fee from that salary. Am I still making more? And for me, it was an easy yes. In fact, if I had subtracted my minimum wage salary from my after college salary, that amount of money was still more than my minimum wage salary, and then some. So the thing you have to keep in mind with this stuff is what's the reward, what's the payoff. Now, of course, there's always something that we're all scared of, and that's risk. Now, when I say risk when it comes to college, what I mean is, will this actually be able to pay off for you, or are you sort of rolling the dice? Well, with an IT degree, it's more on it's probably going to work out for you. Now, it's like a lot of other technical degrees, that if all you do is sit there, go through the classes, learn everything, and get out with nothing but the degree, you can probably find something, but it's going to be hard and you're going to have to work at that stage. Now, if you take the opportunities that are granted to you when you're at a university, like companies nearby that offer internships, career fairs, clubs, things that you can put on your resume other than just the degree, your chances go even higher than that of getting a good job. But we're all afraid of that, and I understand that, because our parents are actually wrong when they say you should go get a degree, because there are a lot of degrees that are not good. Now let's compare this to some other things like a coding boot camp. You put in a bunch of money up front, or you pay it off as you go, and you learn over the course of a month, maybe two, how to do everything you're gonna need to do in your career. I have a little bit of news for you. Unfortunately, unless you're some kind of crazy genius, you're not going to be able to be that competent in whatever you're learning to do within a few months, or probably even a year. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of practice, and it literally just takes time. Now, this is where the university obfuscates the risk, is that you can't really trust any, coding bootcamp certificate to actually be respected by anybody in the industry anywhere, but most everyone will respect a degree. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you can't be a competent employee if you don't have a degree. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm trying to tell you is why I think the IT degree is worth it. Now, the thing about the IT degree is it has a diverse set of skills. And that can actually be helpful because that gives you a wide range of options. Now, the thing about people is that we don't all like the same thing, and this actually gives you the opportunity to pick what you do like and pursue that. Now, what comes with that is it means you might have to do more work on your own to become competent in that thing, because you won't spend your entire college career just focusing on it. But that's okay, because you will have some time to do that. I basically did this all my college career, but I still did have time to have fun. Now, here's what I want to tell you that a lot of other people probably don't want you to hear, and that's that most people on YouTube are lying to you about this stuff. And when I say they're lying to you, I literally mean that they're lying to you. Now, I think that they might convince themselves that they're being honest, but the truth is they're being paid by somebody to sell you this coding bootcamp. I have had people message me saying, hey, I heard about this coding bootcamp, should I do it? And I asked them where, and it's from a YouTube channel. Now, I can guarantee you this, if there is any YouTube channel telling you, go to X coding bootcamp, they are being paid by X coding bootcamp. So it's one of those things where you have to look at the person making the content and ask, why are they doing it? I might be kind of a hard one, actually, because you won't see too many people trying to sell a university degree, and that's because universities don't normally hunt down YouTubers and tell them to sell the degree in a general sense, and that's because they don't need to. But coding boot camps, they do. and other things out there like that, like certifications and stuff. Not to say they're all bad, but they do. They need to find people out there that they feel like they're influential and ask them, hey, will you sell this thing for me? And look at the people doing the channel, whether that be YouTube or Instagram or whatever. What do they do for a living? Because the one thing I can guarantee you is that this is not my full-time job. And that's one of the reasons that the content quality I put out is much lower than a lot of those YouTubers. It's one of the reasons that I look tired every night when I do this, on top of the fact that I'm doing a master's degree. I do this because I believe in what I'm saying. And I felt like I took a risk when I went to do the degree, and that if it worked out for me, I basically wanted to tell other people the way. And I do that every Friday night because that's what I wanted to do, and for some reason I enjoy doing it. But if you look into me, and I'm not going to give you links or anything, it's easy enough to look me up, you'll see that I am a normal person working in the industry. And when you're watching somebody, you have to ask, are they working in the industry? And not, did they used to work in the industry? Because if they used to work in the industry, and for whatever reason, they aren't in it anymore, that might not be a good person to listen to if that's what you want to do. Now, if you want to become a career YouTuber, maybe they'd be a great person to listen to. But if you want to get into industry somewhere, you should listen to people that are actually there. Not people that failed out, not people that are around it and know it but aren't actually in it. Listen to people that are actually walking the walk so that they can talk the talk. Okay, guys, hope this was helpful. Have a good night.